guys. Can you guys hear me okay? How is everybody doing? Hello, hello. Hi, Pencil. Hi, everyone. Yeah, we'll be starting in just a second. I'm just selecting some art to critique for us from the subreddit. Okay. So this is crazy. First critique hour in our new channel. That's kind of wild. Let me set up chat. I'm hoping my tablet doesn't croak on me today. Let me see what the battery's at. It's good enough. What's that XP thing? What's the XP thing? Can you guys see okay? XP. Which XP? Do you mean the top fans thing? Oh. Oh, I see. We're getting ranked. That's weird. I haven't heard of that. That wasn't present in my last channel. That's kind of crazy. We're getting ranked. Ooh. Ooh. Well, that's interesting. So, I am going to be submitting or publishing or whatever, posting my video streams, these streams directly. So YouTube usually uploads your streams for you after you're done. So I'm just going to be going with the flow. I'm not going to download them, edit them, and then re-upload them like I did with my other channel, because that requires that I delete a stream. Apparently, YouTube may be punishing channels for deleting videos. Weird, because it's forcing me to upload the stream and then punishing me for deleting it, which I find is so weird. I really don't know how to make any sense of that. But I'm just going to go with the flow for this channel, and hopefully that that doesn't create any issues. I'm pretty sure the last channel's limitations weren't related to that, because I had been streaming for a really long time. I guess at some point they rolled out some new rules that I didn't know about. Either way, I have two channels. This is my new channel. It's the same exact thing as the other one, but we're just going to be doing it in a new platform, new channel. And hopefully the content can reach more students, can reach more people this way. It is my first stream in a new channel, so if there's any kinds of hiccups, any kinds of issues, this is just the raw stream that I will be uploading. So usually I get to edit out any kind of drops in the connection. This time around, I don't. I'm pretty sure they won't punish me for the 1 or 2 videos that I delete. But we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. This is all just diving in feet first, doing something crazy that I've never done before, in the hopes of getting my content out there for whoever needs it. So to start off, what do I do? What am I doing here? What's this all about? I am an art streamer. I'm an art teacher, and I stream my art classes through my YouTube channel, through a YouTube stream. And what I do is, this is my website. I go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here. That'll take you to my subreddit, and this is where people submit their work for critique, and this is where I selected the 2 pieces I'll be taking a look at today really quickly. And that's it. That's the whole format. I critique your work, you submit it, it's all free, it's really fun, and maybe this new channel will get the content out there. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and dive right in. I'm just gonna get started. Usually I wait for everyone to pop in, but because this is a a new channel, it's gonna be pretty difficult to predict whether or not the usual 40 or 50 people that hop in, waiting for them. I'm really not sure how to go about that. So let's just go right in. Okay. So I'm looking at this piece, And there are some muddy elements to it. There's not much of a light setup. The light isn't really doing much other than exposing her completely. It looks more like a magazine, you know, image. It looks more like a soap commercial or soap cut out of a magazine, you know what I mean? Very, very exposed. So these super exposed skin tones, they tend to look cheesy because they're exposing too much. We're seeing too much of the skin. There's also no color wash. You have so much blue happening, but none of that blue is really affecting the skin, but it does match, so you did that. They do match. So the issues, I think, the reason why it's not at the best that it could be is because there's not much storytelling. Storytelling happens in the lighting. Storytelling happens with things that are held back, lighting that promotes a certain mood or atmosphere. So we don't have any of that here. And that's pretty much what you're gonna get. You're gonna get what you put into the lighting, really, out of your viewers. So what I'm seeing here is a need to maybe change the expression a little bit. The expression is also very standard, you know, it's just a standard smile, LinkedIn, but cosplaying. Cosplaying, imagine like LinkedIn, but it had like a cosplayer's version. Kind of just seems like something like that. Maybe like a thumbnail photo of a character. If that's what you intended, it's pretty good. It does the job. But I feel like you really need to do something else. So an example of that would be, let me see the image size. So image size, let me raise it up. So an example of that would be to cast some kind of shadow, limit the amount of exposure, change the expression to be a little bit less, you know, cheerful, I guess I would say, or neutral, cheerful, neutral, to something a little bit more, maybe showing her personality a little bit, maybe a bit more confidence in the personality. So I'm just shifting her eyebrows. I'm using Liquify. All right, so a little bit more confidence in her expression. A little bit more strength in the smile, a little bit more confidence in the smile as well. And so let me show you where it was before. And maybe something to do with the gesture. Maybe show the gesture a little bit. So raise the shoulders up a touch. Or maybe one shoulder goes up, one shoulder goes down, just to show more of a gesture that started at the hips. Something that may have made her look a little bit more confident. Maybe one hip is kind of leaning. She's leaning on one leg, causing a kind of ripple effect for the rest of the symmetry in the body, all the way up to the shoulder. Okay, and so maybe allowing that chest to feel more confident. Okay, so before, after. Do you guys see those slight changes? And what they did? So sometimes when you guys are designing these characters, you have these personalities in your head for who they want to be, but you just don't know how to let it come across. So you end up creating a super neutral looking character that really isn't telling a story. And so what you're doing here is that's all you're doing. You're telling a story with the gesture, with the expression. Do you guys see that difference? So before, after, before, after. So I'm just still adjusting. I wish we can flip the canvas in Liquify. That would be so cool. But unfortunately we can't. And so I'm just doing what I can here to make the shoulders feel a little bit more realistic and not throw off the anatomy. So before, you can see how the eyebrows were neutral, mouth was neutral, shoulders were neutral. Very standard LinkedIn photo. Even for a LinkedIn photo, I don't think it works because it's a little bit too, maybe it does. And then after, before, after. Small changes, but big results. It's usually my motto. And then we have the, let me correct those little things. And then we have the lighting. So the lighting, you can do so many different things with the lighting. You can make the background a little bit darker. So the background is part of something called the light environment. The light environment is the culmination of the object, the light source in the background. So how do they all create the mood? How do they all create the effect? Usually we start with the background value because it's the biggest object in the room. The biggest object in your drawing will always be the background, meaning that that has the core power to change the whole atmosphere. So what's happening with the biggest object in the background? What is the light doing to it? You can argue the light is the biggest object if you want to say light is an object, but I'm just talking about material objects that are non-luminescent. And so what we can do is duplicate this layer and darken it. And so what happens here is, I'm going to just saturate a little bit to compensate. So what happens is now we have a mood. Now we don't have all this extra lighting. We can get some of the lighting that we had before and kind of let it like hug the bottom of the silhouette, but not too much. Just to create that gradual tone or that varied tone. You can also do the same thing in the top corner, as long as the majority of that value is dark. So again, these are the layers of change that we did. The first layer of change would of course be the entire expression and how that changed. So that's the first layer of change. This is the next layer of change. The third layer of change would be to darken more, to create a sense of mystery, to unify the values. So usually I do that by picking that background color. You see how much relies on the background color? So I pick that background color and I put it on darken, and I'm just throwing it over the entire portrait and letting it kind of work like a gradient towards the top half. So you can see I have more on one side than the other. And I'll probably just add a little bit more. And what I am going to do is delete what I know the light can see. So this way I'm starting to incorporate the darkness of the room with the character. So now she looks a little bit more like a femme fatale type character, a spy kind of character, maybe a supporting character in a story, highly skilled, mysterious, rogue character, thief character. So if you are going to design a character that looks like that, you have to bring in the environment somewhere in there in that glamour shot that you're designing. And this is a glamour shot, meaning that it's a shot that's designed to put the character in their best clothes, in their best suit, and just really show them off. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm using a little bit more of that shadow on the lower side. And I'm just trying to encourage a little bit more shadow in general. So before, after, before, after. Less exposed, less in your face, and a little bit more mystery. And if they are crawling around in the dark, doing whatever it is they do, stealing precious gems or whatever, what you want to do is maybe bring in an ambient light. So the ambient light would be just anything that sits on the opposite side of the light source direction. So really it would be something like, oh, my brush is starting to go haywire on me. So it would really be something that brings out the darker half of the image. You don't have to do this, but it's a really, really kind of a reliable go-to for a lot of artists to use ambient lighting. In a scene that only has one light source and it's generally dark, and it's supposed to be dark for the sake of the character. Obviously, like if you're drawing like a Sailor Moon character that's supposed to be dressed up in light, it's not really a night theme, you know, it's supposed to have a lot of light and golden lightness, kind of goddess stuff, then that's different. But because this character is wearing blue, they look a little bit like a thief or a secret agent or something like that. Those are the vibes I'm getting out of this character design. I would darken the scene and bring in some ambient light to help boost it. And so all I'm doing right now is just trying to hug that edge. Okay, and I'm doing the same thing along the breast line and along the shoulder line. Really, really quick fixes, but you can see how little a jump it takes for you to go from standard work, like work that just looks like it's not really ready to be published, to work that's ready to be published. It's just a small amount of effects here and there that make the bigger difference. Most of the time, these changes in your work are not skill related, they're design related, they're research related, they're related to the stuff that you would do if you were a cameraman, if you were a director, if you were game developer. They're not really related to art, they're related to the environment, the delivery of the story on screen. They're not so much related to how you want to design this character particularly. They're like theater tricks. And most of the time we forget to study the theater tricks. We're really just focused on our fundamentals and learning how to draw a face instead of really, really locking into all the other elements of being an artist, which are, you know, they stem into even studying human psychology and what goes into expressions. So there's a lot more into being an artist than just studying the basic facial anatomy and fundamentals. There's a lot of design that goes into it. Okay, so a little bit more of a presence here and there in the character and her personality type. And so we gave her some personality. And then we also darkened the room quite a bit. And then now I'm just going to strengthen whatever that light is that is exposing her. I'm just going to bring it into the scene. So there's this like light. So I'm just going to use soft brush on dodge tool. And I'm just going to try to strengthen that light here. So just some areas get a little bit of extra highlight. And that's really all I wanted to change about this one. I just wanted to show you that what you're doing with it, you could push it a little bit further than you have already. So before, oh, this is after the image size change. So before, after. I believe that is it. And then I'm just going to flatten the image and show you a more clear before and after. So image size. So actually this is the before and after. Before, after. So more personality, more light, effects, I guess, a little bit more mystery, and a little bit more of a gesture in her body. And you have a more complete kind of character splash or character portrait frame, or whatever it is that's supposed to represent this character, kind of like a character profile picture for a scrolling character select screen or something like that. So before, after. A little bit of darkness goes a long way. All right, so flatten, and I'll save that. And then we have this one. This is a form study. So a form study is a kind of like a study on how to render, basically. It's all about practicing your rendering skills, practicing your ability to combine values, blend, control an edge, control contrast, respond to a light source. So many different factors go into it. And so this is a form study, which is really cool. They're more difficult than meets the eye. They're a lot more complex than this, but there are some essential rules. And the rules you have to follow are: track the light source. Where's the light source coming from? That'll tell you which surfaces are being exposed to it. So imagine each surface is a solar panel, and the light source is shining on these surfaces. Which of these surfaces is going to be collecting the most energy? So obviously this surface right here is not even looking at the light source. And if you guys want a full breakdown of how this even works, I have a whole how-to lighting video on my other channel. It's just called Istebrak, and you guys can find that there. But essentially the theory in that video is that imagine a perpendicular line. Perpendicular means a perfect right angle line emerges out of every surface area. Which of these lines works most parallel with, or not parallel, but exposed to the light source. Which of these is looking at the light source directly? So you can see how this one is rotated away from the light source. This one is 180 degrees away from the light source. Remember that each line comes with an arrow to reveal to you where it's looking, which direction it's looking in. This is never going to be the most illuminated surface on this shape. It's going to be the least illuminated. That's why it's the darkest value. So once you find the lightest value and the darkest value, you work in between in these middle ground, blending the lighter and the darker value to find the middle values. Usually they're all some kind of variation of those two blended together. So what does that mean for this critique, for the critique of this one? That means that this surface needs to be a little bit brighter. Okay, if that is what your middle surface is going to be. There's also other little things you learn in a form study. For instance, you also learn about these crevices, edges, overlap and fold edges, meaning that the overlap edge is this edge, the object in front of the background overlapping it, and the fold edge, which is the same object but the object folded and change directions. And so that means we have an edge. So that means that we have this non-blended line running along the middle. Oopsie. Am I locked? Oh wait, yes I am. So we have this unblended line right here. It's not a line, it's an edge. And right here you have a couple of random values. You also have this value right here, which I think you were trying to represent as a fold. So it is looking directly at the light source. And you're right. You did compute this right. You did change the value of this little section here that looks directly at the light source. And so what happens is these crevices, these points, correspond with these edges, these unblended surfaces. And I think this surface could be a little bit more bright. So form studies are my absolute most recommended study for any student just trying to learn how to render stuff. It is no creative pressure. You don't have to be creating a character or a person or going out of your way to like wait for the next time you feel like creating something in order to get some painting mileage or some edge work mileage. This is all just free. It's absolutely free skills waiting for you. Just do a form study and you'll start to pick up on all of these different elements. Meaning when to blend, when to sharpen. And the more you do it, the more you expose yourself to this type of study, the more you're going to get better for free. There's no creative pressure, there's no creative cost. So what I'm doing here is I'm just lightening. So you see how this surface curves towards this one. Well, light doesn't just land, light bounces. Let me increase the size real quick because these sizes are killing me. Okay. So the light source, when it comes in as a straight angle, as a straight line, doesn't just land, it bounces. So the light that came down here bounced up and illuminated the bottom of this little awning shape right here. And it's more of a gradual tone. All right, and there is this little crevice. See this little point you made? Well, that's a crevice. Not a crevice, that's an edge being formed. And so you just track down, you literally, that's all you're doing. You're just problem solving the problem you made yourself when you first created the form study, when you first decided on the shape that it was going to have. You just pick a random shape with lasso tool, right? Polygonal lasso tool. You pick a random shape, geometric or organic, meaning sharp edges or smooth edges, respectively, and you just problem solve. And once you start seeing art as a problem solving opportunity, a lot of your rendering will be much more natural and you'll feel a lot less reliant on references moving forward. Meaning you may still have references open while you draw, but you're not like sweating and dying trying to make sure everything works and feels right. All right. You're kind of just cruising through because you know the forms, you know the edges, you know everything that needs to go into it. All right, and so all these edges, these kind of dark sides right here have this really gritty edge. You can clean that up. And so that's it. Look at what we've sculpted so far. We've sculpted this rocky surface. It's actually a really relaxing. I used to do these form studies just to relax, just to kind of like relax and hang with friends while I'm talking with friends. I'll just be rendering these. And eventually it just became so second nature. It felt so much like it was just a natural study that my skill increased, my rendering skill boosted, and I didn't even notice it was. It was just fun to just sit there problem solving these puzzles, these visual puzzles. And that's what form studies are. And so that's the same thing I'm doing all the way around. Anywhere where you added a point, you designated a point, that's where I am adding a sharp edge. Point here, sharp edge. And I'm just following the logic you created, which is which objects can see the light source and which objects can't. So I feel like this whole general area right here, sometimes I jump between lighten and darken. This whole general area here could be a little bit lighter. I feel like it's just a touch too dark for the environment. Look at the bright wall, look at the bright room the object is in. It shouldn't be that dark because there's no opportunity for shadows to stay shadows in such a bright environment. Only the area that is truly rejecting the light, like I showed you earlier with those red lines, would get that shadow. And even then, there might still be an opportunity for bounce light or for ambient light of some kind. If this object is grounded, that means it has a cast shadow. So form studies are a great place to practice your cast shadows. So cast shadows have very, very simple rule. They're not demanding. All you got to do is just remember that a cast shadow is a degree lighter than the surface it falls on. Unless there's like zero bounce light and no ray tracing or something like that, or completely just dark, dim light source. Usually in an open environment where the wall itself is receiving the light, usually will have some kind of brightness to that cast shadow. They're sharper the closer they get to the surface casting them. So we're sharpening the blur. I blurred it, and they get blurrier and fuzzier the further they get from the surface casting them. So that means that we are just fuzzing out that edge a little bit, and over here as well. Trying to match the colors so that I don't have to mess that up. Okay, and then they also do one more thing, which is they get lighter the further they get from the object casting them. Cast shadows are really straightforward. They shouldn't be killing you, and usually they're a silhouette reflection of the object's shape. You usually don't have to go out of your way to capture the exact shape of the object. That is one direct light source that's causing that, if that's the case. Usually they're elongated and distorted shapes of the light source, of the object casting them, sorry. So you don't have to worry too much about picking the exact shape. But this was going to be a short stream for this channel. I'm just kind of testing the waters a little bit with streaming and uploading directly on stream. But that's really it. That's my whole format. That's how I do these classes. If you guys want to submit your work for critique, I critique all kinds of work on my channel, all kinds of work. So I critique furry art, I critique anime, I critique realism, I critique environments, I critique characters, character design splashes, creature design splashes. I don't know which CH to speak with. If you want to submit your work for critique, there is a free way to do it. Istebrak.com. It's all free. You go to Istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here. This is where I selected pieces to critique today. And it's an open, free community. You submit your work, you get critiques from other members, but you also get critiques from me, and this is where I stream them and upload them. I will not be downloading and deleting my stream. I will be keeping my streams live here on out. I won't be editing them. So whatever I mess up, that's it. That's what you guys get. And I won't be able to edit them after the fact or anything. I believe that YouTube is punishing channels for uploading or deleting videos from their from your library. So I'm going to avoid that and see what happens. I have another channel. This is a brand new channel. I have another channel with 108,000 subscribers, but it's experienced some kind of rut in the past couple years. And I believe it's because of all the changes post-pandemic. But so I'm trying to make a new channel now, upload all my content here, and maybe that'll reach more students, more people, and maybe enlarge the community a little bit, and enrich the community with more diverse submissions, because I love when the submissions are diverse. Someday we're doing environment critique, someday we're doing creature design, one day we're doing a furry creature design or something like that. So all art is welcome. I really don't have restrictions other than NSFW stuff, meaning like anything that's smutty or anything like that. I don't critique that on my videos. Anatomy studies, I believe YouTube is okay with me submitting education related nudes. But other than that, I think everything else is not allowed. Thank you guys for joining today. Thank you guys for hopping into this stream. I'll upload this now, and hopefully you guys can see my next stream. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, sometimes at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, depending on my schedule. So, but it is generally between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be streaming twice a week, as much as I can, every Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you guys for watching today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.